So now that we've talked a little bit about how to get physical in general, let's talk about a specific physical move, the kiss, which highlights a lot of those principles, but also does break some of the rules because it's a bit of a special case. Okay, why is kissing a special case? Well, I talked earlier about invisible escalation, about making tiny moves. And the thing with invisible escalation is no one move is super important. No one move seems to matter all that much. Like if she, doesn't hug you, you can always just like hold her hand instead. Or if she doesn't like, take your hand one time, you can always like give her a hug, right? There's all these different things you can do. And so there's a lot of variety and no one move matters. The kiss, for whatever reason, has huge cultural significance. It indicates like we're together, we've decided we like each other, etc. So for that reason, it's one of those moves that you want to specifically do it as opposed to sort of like generally maybe do it. And you want to be sure like not to get rejected when you do it, right? Ideally, you'd like it to go over successfully because that does a lot for the overall vibe of the interaction. Okay, so those are the reasons why kissing's a little bit special. It's also a bit of like a strong move as opposed to, it's hard, there's not another move that's super close to kissing, although I will teach you some in a minute that are kind of close that help you get there. And so it does have to be a little more of an overt move, okay? But generally you're gonna use the same principles as you did with all physical escalation. Which brings me back again to the first point of physical escalation, which is just go for it, okay? I'm gonna reiterate this again, times 10 with kissing. I have never, ever, ever lost a girl by going for the kiss. It has not happened in all my years of dating experience, but I've lost many, many girls by not going for the kiss. I've lost many girls by letting it be too platonic, letting the opportunity pass, etc., especially when I was first learning. Okay, in fact, I was so bad when I was first learning, it took me 9 months of dating and dating pretty continually to kiss my first girl. The first girl I kissed, I actually slept with because she had to like me that much in order to kiss me. All right, so, and this was as a virgin, so you can get where I was going with that. Okay, so let's talk specifically about the kiss, all right? You need to go for it. Understand this. She will respect you for trying, okay? And to make this point a little clearer, I want to ask you, what is the purpose of kissing? What is the purpose of kissing? Is it for your lips to touch hers? And I would say no. The purpose of kissing is to convey a message. And what you're conveying to her is that you are the type of guy that will try to kiss her. Because think of this. If you're talking, you try and kiss, she is not receptive or the kiss doesn't come off, and then you continue talking and she stays there and interacts with you, she's now staying there and interacting with you as the guy who tried to kiss her, which means you still succeeded in making it a man-to-woman interaction, conveying that vibe, and continuing the interaction, which is all you really need to go for. The kiss itself doesn't matter. What matters is the message signaled by the kiss. So for that reason, there's no such thing as a failed kiss. Either way, you conveyed the message. Understand that going in, and you'll have much less nervousness about going for the kiss, and actually you'll go for it in a much, much, much smoother way. All right, let's get a little more specific about the theory of the kiss. The first thing that's super, super, super critical in the kiss is what I call transference of emotions or transference of buying temperature. So the idea here is if you want someone to feel something in an interaction, you should feel that thing first. For example, if I want you to feel really, really frantic, if I start talking really, really fast like this, it's going to make you feel really, really frantic. It might make you like less relaxed. It might make you kind of hyper and think like kind of nervous things. On the other hand, if I speak very slowly, I'm kind of relaxed, take a deep breath, you're going to become more relaxed yourself listening. All right, and that's because human beings are constantly pinging off each other, constantly reacting to each other. So whatever energy you're putting out, other people are going to respond to. So if you are bored or platonic in your energy, the girl's going to be bored and platonic, and you have a boring platonic interaction. If you get a little bit aroused instead, if you allow yourself to admire the girl and think of her as a sexual object a little bit, and like maybe even imagine yourself sleeping with her, or like imagine her naked a little bit as you're talking to her, that's going to get you in a state of physical arousal. When you get yourself into a state of physical arousal, the girl's choices basically are follow you into that state of physical arousal, do something really awkward, or leave. And of those three choices, if the interaction has been going well, she's going to much prefer to follow you into that state of physical arousal, so she'll become aroused as well. Okay, it's very, very important. It's very hard to arouse a girl, kiss a girl, sleep with a girl if you're not getting sexually turned on. Okay, so allow yourself that privilege. Don't think of a girl as this sort of like divine non-sexual angel. Think of her in a little bit of a dirty way. Think of her in a way where you are objectifying her a little bit. You're imagining having sex with her, and that's okay, all right? Remember, key phrasing game. I make no apologies for my desires as a man. The next thing that's going to go along with this physical arousal is what I call the phase shift. And this is basically when you decide to make that transition to becoming physically aroused, becoming like kind of projecting that sense of it's time for us to kiss, it's time for this to be romantic, it's time for it to go somewhere. And the phase shift basically is that moment you decide, and it can be over time, but a lot of times you can just it's like throwing a switch. You just decide, I've decided to be physically aroused right now, and you change. And so you're talking, you have a normal conversation, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, you, come here. We've talked a lot. We've talked too much. Come here, right? And you just make that decision that you're going to fundamentally change the tone of the conversation. And again, if you fundamentally change the tone, she has the choice to go with you, be super awkward, or leave. So if things have been going well, if she already likes you, she's going to make the decision to go with you. Remember also, girls like sex a lot. Girls want sex probably more than we do, but they can't go after it without feeling slutty. And girls like being led. So by phase shifting, you're helping them with all these things. You're helping them to have a sexual experience. You're helping them to have the burden off their shoulders and not feel slutty. And you are leading, okay? So in and of itself, the phase shift is extremely powerful. And you just need to make that strong decision, decide you're going to go for it. And probably like 95% of the times when you go for the phase shift, you're going to just make that strong decision. You're going to hold that frame of being sensual and sexual until you get the kiss or you get at least some kind of really positive advance of some kind. Maybe one time in 20, maybe you miscalibrated, maybe something interrupts the situation, maybe something weird happens, then you're going to break it off, back off, go back to normal conversation, and then at some later time you're going to need to phase shift again. Okay, so that'll happen every once in a while, but most of the time, the vast majority, you want to hold that frame strong, continue through to the moment of the kiss or the moment of some other big escalation. It doesn't necessarily always have to be a kiss. Finally, in order to make your kissing go better, I want to introduce an idea. It's an idea from sales, and it's called the trial close. Okay, so in sales, if you were, for example, selling a car, you wouldn't just list all the features and benefits of the car and then at the very end be like, so would you like to buy the car? Because that's very abrupt, it's very sudden, and you haven't gotten any feedback along the way. You haven't taken them through a closing process. You haven't taken them in their minds down the road of sort of picturing how things could be and emotionally getting ready to be sold on something. All right? So instead, you might say, okay, so we currently have it in stock in black, blue, red, and white. Actually, of those colors, like just if you were to get it, what colors do you think you might like? Just so I can check and see if we have that model precisely. Does that make sense? So, and then you obviously you feel like a dick if you won't tell the guy your favorite color. Like, well, I like red. But by saying I like red, you're getting one step closer to buying the car, right? So you're kind of indicating that if it were in red, you might be willing to buy it. Right, it's the same kind of thing with the girl and with various things. So when I'm going for a kiss, what I will do is I'll do potentially little trial closes along the way to the kiss. One is reach out the hand and pull her in towards me and see if she comes towards me. If she comes towards me, that's maybe a positive indicator for the kiss. Another one I really like is brush the girl's the hair out of the face. And that's a really good indicator because if you reach out for the girl's hair and she goes like this, she's obviously not ready to be kissed. But if she's receptive and you brush it back past the ear, and she seems positive on that, you can even reach back, grab the hair, give her a little hair pull. If you can do that, she's almost certainly receptive to the kiss. One other really good one that I like as a trial close is to kind of go whisper in her ear. And as you whisper in her ear, you pull your face back against hers, and you see how she reacts. And if she doesn't pull her face away, or if she even nuzzles her face closer, she's probably ready to be kissed. You could even pull back and kiss her right there. What I typically do in that case is I typically pull back to the point she knows I could kiss her, and then I pull away and don't, because I find that maintains the sexual tension even more than actually kissing her would. But again, it's a trial close. It's a way of knowing where you're at, knowing what you can get away with. Okay, so these are all very, very useful in going about getting the kiss as well. All right, so now that we've talked about kissing in general terms, let's get more specific. What I want to address here are a few things. Number one, how do you know she's ready to be kissed? Number two, what are some techniques for going for the kiss, especially if it doesn't seem to be happening naturally or you're not super experienced with kissing girls? And then lastly, what are some cases when it's a better idea actually not to kiss the girl? All right, so that'll be kind of the overview of what I'm going to talk about in this section. First, how do you know the girl is ready for the kiss? Well, first of all, the interaction obviously should be generally positive, and it generally should have escalated towards sex in some way, shape, or form. Usually you're not going to kiss a girl out of a totally platonic interaction. Usually there's some level of verbal content escalation and some level of like intimacy in terms of the conversation, right? So it's not like you'd be like, so about that weather, so about those sports teams, mwah, right? It's unlikely that it's going to occur that way. So you want to have that build-up. But there are two specific things that you can do or have happen that are really like neon lights flashing that say, kiss me, kiss me, kiss me. The first is if there is a pregnant, sexually tense pause. Okay, for example, say you're talking, you reach the end of a conversational topic, and then you're both kind of like in silence, like kind of staring at each other, wondering what to say, wondering what's going to happen, and there is this like feeling, this sort of like heaviness of sexual tension. That's a pretty good moment to go ahead and kiss the girl. All right, so when that moment occurs, when you have that pregnant pause in a conversation, again, there's been something more than platonic already. There's been a little bit of verbal intimacy. Maybe you've like talked about some sexual topics, that kind of stuff. That always helps. But that tense pregnant pause is a very, very good time for the kiss. The second one that's pretty good, which is similar in a way but a little different, is when the girl seems particularly flustered. For example, if you say something to her, like you tease her, and she starts like blushing and giggling and doesn't quite know how to respond, and she seems kind of at a loss for words, that's a really good time, okay? Or if she starts talking and she like halfway through forgets what she wants to say and is kind of embarrassed by it, and again is like a bit flustered, that's a really good time, because that flusteredness is a sign that she's highly reactive to you in that moment, and a sign that her logical mind is kind of disengaged. Those are two very good criteria for the kiss, which is a very, very emotional thing. Okay, so those are the type of moments you want to look for as ideal, optimal moments to go ahead and kiss the girl. And actually, a lot of times during these moments, the girl will get a particular look in her face and on her eyes and in her face, which is sort of like eyes unfocused, jaw relaxed, kind of like a little bit of a dazed look. And I joke around sometimes when I show videos of kisses that it's like I forget if it's like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, but like the video game where they have like the dizzy girl is like, finish her, right? It's like that's the moment when she's ready to be kissed. So be aware of that moment, be aware of those situations, because those are the times when kissing is very critical. Another actually really good one is, and this is really the same thing, but it's a special occasion or special occurrence of the same thing, is if you pull a girl towards you, a lot of times you'll find that she'll go silent while being pulled towards you, or she'll look a little flustered or get that sort of like kiss me look when you pull her in towards you. So that was kind of my go-to for a long time on dates, is I'd do the sit down part of the date, walk with her, and then I'd pull her back, hey, come here. And as I pull her towards me, a lot of times she'd get that, and then I'd just go for the kiss. All right, so that's one way that you can kind of manufacture those situations fairly reliably as well. Okay, so let's talk about specific techniques and ways that you can go for the kiss. Now, obviously, I talked about trial closes. I talked about, the right moments, that kind of stuff. So the best kisses happen organically. The best kisses just sort of happen either, during that pregnant pause, or maybe you're talking, she gets flustered, and then you go for it. She's talking, she gets flustered, you go for it, etc. However, if you are not as experienced with kissing, you're missing your windows, or it doesn't seem to be happening that naturally, here are some techniques that you can use to make sure that the kiss happens. First one is a very old school pickup technique, and this is called triangular gazing. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to gaze back and forth between her eyes and her lips, and her eyes and her lips, and her eyes and her lips. It's called triangular because I guess they're supposed to go eye, lip, but that doesn't really matter. The point is, go from eyes to lips. And you want to do it slowly, sensually. It should be not super obvious, but it should be obvious enough that she kind of gets that vibe. Again, along with this, you want to have that phase shift vibe of like putting yourself in a sensual, relaxed mood. You want to, as you look at her lips, be thinking about the kiss. So you're looking at her eyes, looking at her lips, thinking about the kiss, eyes, lips, thinking about the kiss. And she'll usually follow that vibe. If she doesn't seem negative to it, or if she seems to be reacting well to it, what you would do is you'd start to gradually lean in as you're doing it. And if you lean in far enough and she doesn't do anything negative, you just go ahead and kiss her. So that's triangular gazing. Very, very powerful kissing technique. The next technique for going for the kiss is really another version of the trial closes that we talked about before, but it's a more overt version, and that is the Eskimo kiss. So what you do there is you ask the girl, do you know what an Eskimo kiss is? And then you say, oh yeah, it's just the, the noses, etc. So the idea is that it's something similar to a kiss, and it's something that when you start doing it, she kind of knows that kissing is on your mind, but it is more subtle and less risky and risque than an actual kiss would be. And obviously, if the girl goes nose to nose with you and does Eskimo kiss, then that's a pretty good indication that she's willing to kiss you. And you could even just lean in and kiss right there. Usually what I'll do, though, is just use it as an indicator, pull back, chill out, and then know that I can go for the kiss whenever I want to later. Another similar thing you can do, actually, to the Eskimo kiss is if you pull a girl over towards you and you just, like, put your head down. So it's obvious when you put your head down that you're not going to kiss her. And you just go forehead to forehead with her, and then you can gradually lean forward until your nose touches her nose. That's very similar as well to the Eskimo kiss. And then you can either, obviously from there, go for the kiss, or you can, again, back away, knowing full well that you could have kissed, and she knows it as well. So from there, the kiss is a pretty easy thing to do. The next technique for going for the kiss is really for a specific circumstance, and that is a circumstance where the girl doesn't want to be at fault. See, we talked earlier about how girls want sex, but they don't want to appear slutty. Sometimes it'll go a step further, and it will be to the point where not only does a girl not want to make a move because she doesn't want to feel slutty, she doesn't want to be at fault in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so in that particular case, what you can do is what we call the eyes closed kiss, which is basically you say, hey, close your eyes, I want to tell you something, or close your eyes, I want to show you something, and then once they close their eyes, you go ahead and kiss them while their eyes are closed. Now, again, I mean, theoretically, if the girl was gullible enough, you could do this right off the open, be like, hey, what's up, I want to talk to you, hey, close your eyes, I want to show you something, and kiss her. You could do that there. A lot of girls wouldn't close their eyes because they wouldn't trust you enough. And the fact of the matter is that would be kind of a silly kiss because, again, remember, what's the purpose of the kiss? The purpose of the kiss is to communicate something to the girl, communicate like a vibe, a relationship, that kind of stuff. So in that sort of case, it would be pure gimmick. The time when you really do want to use the eyes closed kiss is when, again, you can tell she likes you, but she seems nervous or hesitant about the kiss for a reason you can't quite identify. When that's the case, or when she seems like, just like she'll do all the other touch stuff fine, and even maybe stuff that's more intimate than a kiss, like she'll let you pull her hair, she'll let you bite her neck, but she just won't let you kiss her, then you could do the eyes closed kiss. And that might be a technique that could work. Although we're going to talk in a second about when not to kiss, and there's a chance that sometimes when you might use the eyes closed kiss, you might even be better off not kissing, keeping the sexual tension, and doing something else. So we'll get to that in a minute. The final technique that I want to talk about as far as going for the kiss is what I like to call the gangster. And the gangster is basically just being extremely ballsy about the build-up to the kiss, so much so that the build-up is so blatant and awkward, it would be more awkward not to kiss her than it is to kiss her. So an example of how I used to do this is, say I was on a date with a girl, I have a drink, she has a drink, I would just go quiet, and then I would set my drink down and stand up from the table. And I gradually walk slowly around the table while maintaining eye contact, reach over, take her drink, set it down, reach over, lean in, and kiss her. Now, by the time I've set my drink down and stood up and I'm keeping eye contact, the girl pretty much knows I'm about to probably try and kiss her, I'm about to do something. At that moment, though, I've already committed. I've already committed to the move, so much so that it would be super awkward for me to sit down and stop. Right, to sit down and go back. So at that moment, it's like I have no choice but to follow through. And so a lot of times if you have emotional issues about kissing or you're scared to try for it, just doing the gangster can help because you can just make yourself take the steps. And then once you get to the middle, you can tell yourself, oh, I can always quit if I want to. But by the time you're there, you're not going to quit. You're going to follow through. It's kind of similar to when we talked about how to always have something to say, the putting the gun to your head idea, right? Where you just start the sentence and you trust that you're going to finish it. You start the move and you trust that you have to finish it. And that's the beauty of the gangster. The other beauty of the gangster is because it's so ballsy and so blatant, when it comes off, you feel like and look like in the girl's eyes like fucking James Bond. Like you seem so cool, so assertive, so suave. It's just a really, really passionate, intimate way to go for the kiss, and it really does work phenomenally well. So try it out. All right, so lastly in this section, I want to talk about when you might not want to go for the kiss, and there are a few times when that's the case. First of all, if the girl has a lot of friends around her, you probably don't want to go for the kiss because the friends will likely judge her. And also, even if the friends don't judge her per se, they may be less willing to let her be alone with you at any point if you've kissed her blatantly in front of them than if you haven't. Okay, see, for the girl herself, you want her to view you as this sexual alpha, like just dominant, aggressive, assertive caveman guy that will like give her the best sex of her life. That's how you would like her to view you. But you want the friends to view you as the cool, safe, platonic guy that they can leave the friend with and she won't have sex, because that way they're more likely to allow it. Okay, so you're kind of conveying two different things, and kissing very blatantly destroys the image you're trying to convey to the friends. So if there are friends around, you might want to avoid kissing in that particular circumstance. Second one is especially in day game, in highly public circumstances where it might be very embarrassing for the girl, it might draw a lot of attention to her. That might particularly make her feel slutty, so you might want to wait on the kiss until you're in a more private setting or in a setting where it will seem more normal and natural, i.e. Maybe taking the girl on an instant date and kissing on the instant date rather than kissing right in the moment where you, or in the place where you met her, especially if it's a highly public place. So that's another reason why not. Third reason why you might not want to kiss is if there are certain girls that it's just not in their blueprints. They just don't really respond to kissing so much, or even they're resistant to kissing but not to other things. I've had many girls, and by many I mean probably like 1 to 2 dozen, not like many, but enough that I've had sex with without actually even kissing them. And in fact, they'd give me resistance to the kiss. Some of them, even after sex, wouldn't kiss me, but they were totally fine having sex. And that's just a blueprint thing, right? That's just some girls, kissing's not part of the blueprint. I even had girls expressly tell me they're not into kissing, and that's totally fine if that's the case. In particular, if the girl is in some kind of a relationship, a lot of times kissing won't be the right move, because again, they'll have sex with you because it doesn't feel intimate, it just happened, but if they kiss you, somehow it feels intimate and it feels like cheating. So if you happen to know that a girl has a boyfriend, but she's still responding positively in other ways, then what you might want to do is just chill out on the kissing, do everything else, escalate the venues, escalate back to a place where sex can happen, and then just go ahead and have sex without kissing. And a good move instead of the kiss is just kiss or bite the neck. It's equally arousing, it conveys a lot of the same things, but it doesn't require her to participate. So in that particular case, it's very likely that you'll do better off not kissing. And in fact, a lot of the girls that had sex with me without kissing, it's quite possible that they did have boyfriends, they just didn't tell me. So that might have been part of the reason in some of those cases. All right, so those are reasons why you might not want to kiss. The last reason why you might not want to kiss, or you might not want to kiss too much, is if you feel like kissing will destroy the sexual tension. If you feel like it's going to make things too obvious, or it's going to make it too much of like a boring thing where all you're doing is kissing, you may want to either pull away, or you may want to show the girl that you're capable of kissing, or show the girl you could kiss her and then pull away, and then she'll wonder why not and probably chase you all the more for it. So sometimes not kissing can be better than kissing in order to build the sexual tension, so be aware of that. However, if you're not comfortable kissing yet, I wouldn't recommend any of that. Until you become very comfortable kissing, plan on kissing every girl. Once you're very comfortable kissing and it's no big deal, that's when you can start these nuanced things of having sex with girls without kissing them, or waiting a long time to kiss to maintain the sexual tension. All right, so that's kind of an advanced move, but it is an important thing to note, and it will give a dramatic increase to your results once you get to that advanced level. All right, so now I'm going to show you 3 examples of me going ahead and kissing girls. One is straight away in the daytime, right off the approach, and then the other 2 are in more instant date type scenarios. And remember, that's when I more often will go for the kiss, is in those type of scenarios. So you have the one sort of quick kiss in the mall, you have the built-up kiss on the date, and then you have one where I do a build-up and then I actually do the gangster as I've outlined before. So let's have a look at all of those. Indeed, this is you? Okay. Would you like to be enticed to come to Vegas by a cute boy, or would you like to say like it was a fun time and that's it?
Absolutely.
You're adorable. You
so
are actually adorable. I know. That's okay. Everybody just assume we're together.
Okay.
You look like my new girlfriend.
Do you want to add me, or?
Yeah, I can add you.
Okay.
I'm glad they weren't your fault. I'm sorry you had them. It sucks. I was in a car accident about a year and a half ago. Kind of sucks. It was minor, but like it's still like my back was a little messed up for like, a couple months.
Yeah. The first one was in my actual car, which it ticks me off because I never had an accident in that car and I bought it brand new.
So it's like it was like pristine and then now it's like ruined.
Yeah, pretty much. And then the second was like exactly a month later in my rental car. So.
That sucks.
And the guy had no insurance.
Yeah. That's really messed up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it happens. Can't do anything about it, so I dealt with it.
Yeah, fair enough. Just I'm sorry about this. Okay, hang on. Alright, that's good.
I thought girls were bad with their phones.
So I have to check on things. I run a few companies, so most of the time, like, it's not a big deal. But I always have to, like, and most of the time I don't even bother responding, but every once in a while, it'll be something, like, catastrophic. And so I always have to give it, like, the quick check, and then I can ignore it. Like, you notice I'm not, like, sitting there, like, texting the whole time.
Yeah.
But,
I'm just giving you a hard time.
okay.
I don't
Thanks.
care. You're all explaining yourself. I thought it was kind of funny.
What am I gonna do with you, seriously? You're like a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah.
A little bit.
You like it.
You're cocky.
I know.
I don't know if I like the pain in the ass. I like your confidence, though. I do appreciate that. I've met way too many girls that are not nearly confident enough and cannot, like, they just lose their shit around me. So I'm glad that you can, like, handle yourself.
Oh, I can hold my own. I'm super tired.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm not. It's not because of you, so don't even go there.
I wouldn't. Look, I'm glad you feel relaxed. That's a positive.
Very forward.
Better than being backward.
True.
We taste good.
I do. Nice.
You're supposed to say thank you again.
Yes, thank you.
And there will be no I do's between you and I anytime soon. Thank you.
Yeah, no.
None of that.
No. Not, yeah, no.
Anyway, I apologize for my forwardness. I just felt you needed to be woken up, so.
You did wake me up.
I tried. You know what's funny? You say so many things that I should find objectionable, but I actually really like. That's weird.
What do you mean?
Like, you actually cross over into, like, all these, like, stereotypes of things that I typically don't like, but you say them in such interesting ways and you're actually cool about them that I actually like it from you. It's very weird.
I don't understand what you mean. Can you explain and give me an example? Obviously, this wasn't a good example.
Yeah. Okay, like, for example, like, most people that I've dated seriously are, like, extremely, like, extraordinarily, like, smart and, like, successful and, like, or like bookish almost and stuff like that. Which you're definitely smart. You're definitely, like, not dumb. So don't think I'm like I'm not saying you're dumb by any means. You're definitely not a dummy. But, like, you're not, like, your choice of conversation topic is not of the same, like, intellectual nature, but you actually discuss things in a very interesting way, which I enjoy. So you say all these things that I'm like, if I was to be like, so after the date, if my friend was like, what did you talk about? I'd be like, we talk about this, and this. I'd be like, that girl sounds like a total ditz. But the funny thing is, you don't completely sound like a ditz saying it.
But what would you rather talk about? Byzantine art?
Oh, well, there you go. Byzantine art. If I knew anything about Byzantine art, sure. You take art history? No.
So, you know what? You're so right. Like, I'm like this crazy juxtaposition between two worlds. Like, I'm smart and I'm dumb, right? I really am. No, like, I know that I am. And I totally just forgot what I was going to say.
You're adorable, just so you know. Now, the biggest lessons I want you to learn from this are, from the first one, just go for it. But from the other ones, I want you to learn to build that tension. Learn that you can, get yourself in that state, do the triangular gazing, imagine, sexual things, and make no apologies for desires as a man. Do that phase shift. That's the key to getting the kiss, is putting yourself in that state of mind first, and then noticing when she's open to it. Here are a few exercises for how to go for the kiss. And 2 of these will be sort of technical in nature, and 1 of them is kind of a just do it, balls up kind of, man up and go for it exercise. And that's important too, because a big part of going for the kiss isn't even technical, it's just deciding to do it and kind of being man enough to do it. But the first exercise is to practice the phase shift. And as we said in the lesson, the phase shift is basically where you decide to change the energy of the interaction from a casual, social, high energy sort of conversational vibe to a low-key, sexually intense, high-tension, aroused vibe. So what you're going to do is get yourself turned on, slow down, look her in the eye, and think about kissing her, or think about doing something sexual. And actually, in this exercise, you can either do that and then go ahead and kiss her, or if for fun you want to do it, just do the phase shift and then go back to normal conversation. And then do the phase shift and go back to normal conversation. And just practice that phase shift. And actually what you'll probably find is if you do the phase shift a few times without kissing her, you may very well get her very aroused and she may even start escalating on you, which is a pretty powerful thing. But regardless, the phase shift in and of itself is what will lead to kissing being easy and normal and natural. So practice it within the interaction. See how much you can change the energy of the interaction by just changing your own energy, slowing down, changing your focus, etc. Okay, so that's what you're going to do is just phase shift within the interaction. Next exercise you're going to do is you're going to do all the little soft closes that lead up to the kiss without necessarily going for the kiss. Now, if you happen to kiss a girl here and there, that's totally fine as well. We don't discourage that. But what you want to do is all the little ones. Brush her hair out of her face. Like caress her arms a little bit. Lean in close, whisper in her ear, pull back across her face, and see how she reacts to that. Do an Eskimo kiss. Lean forward and lean your forehead into her forehead, face, shoulder, arm, whatever, and see how she reacts to it. Another one you could even do is like kiss her neck at some point. But I want you to do all the little build-up steps to the kiss without worrying about whether you get the kiss. Just treat those as a step in and of themselves instead of worrying about the whole big journey. And again, if you happen to kiss a girl, that's not such a bad thing. And if you don't happen to kiss her, but you do these sort of steps, it's going to build a ton of sexual tension. And it's very likely she'll start escalating on you or even like get really like aroused and just start chasing you really hard. So that's totally fine as well. And then the last exercise is more of the man up exercise. And that is simply every interaction that goes more than 10 minutes, you must try to kiss the girl. All right? That's actually unrealistic because most day game sets, you're not going to be necessarily kissing in the first 10 minutes, but it's good exercise. It's good practice for you to do that so that the kiss becomes a non-event, so the kiss becomes a normal thing. If you want to work up to this, you can give yourself a longer time span at first. If you want to say every 20 minutes at first, then you can build it down to every 10. That's totally fine as well. The big thing here is you want to have a standard for yourself. You want to have a criteria that I will try and kiss the girl so that you never can give yourself excuse. You can't give you the excuse of like, oh, I'll do it later. Or, oh, no, I don't need to kiss this one or whatever. You need to have that that decision that you've made in your mind that you will hold yourself to because it's so easy to just go the entire interaction without kissing a girl. In fact, when I was learning game at first, I went 9 months of dating before I got my first kiss. I knew I needed a kiss, but I just made a lot of excuses. So the key point of this drill is just get rid of all the excuses, just man up and go for it.